Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the INT LR Dawn of an Ideal World Fusion Zamasu at 100% in the hidden potential system, as well as also very fortunately at level 10 links. So this is a fully maxed out Zamasu and he looks pretty interesting. I think he has the unfortunate situation where he shares his name entirely with the Tech Fusion Zamasu. So Tech Fusion Zamasu, INT Fusion Zamasu, they share the same name. Not really the best situation, but hey, what can you do? So yeah, we'll take a look at how good he is. Worldwide Chaos, Batara category, key +4 and HP attack and defense of 150%. Greatly raises attack and defense 1 turn whilst lowering attack on his 12 key. Greatly raises attack and defense 1 turn whilst greatly lowering attack on its 18 key. He activates the entrance animation once only, plus an additional key +1 per key sphere, obtained for 5 turns from the character's entry turn when there is another Batara category ally on the team upon his entry. He randomly changes key spheres of a certain type, int excluded to int key spheres. He has attack and defense of 100% and reduces damage received by 20%. He gets an additional attack and defense of 50% when performing an Ultra Super. He has attacks effective against all types when key is 24. He gets an additional damage reduction of 2% within the same turn with each attack received, up to 10%. And key +1 every time the character receives an attack 5 times in battle, up to 5+. He recovers 10% HP at the end of turn every time the character receives an attack 5 or more times in battle. And he has a great chance of nullifying enemies' unarmed super attacks and countering with tremendous power as well. He has an active skill which will massively raise his attack temporarily, cause ultimate damage and stun the enemy for 1 turn, which can be activated after he's fired off 5 or more super attacks in battle. Big Man Bosses, Dismal Future, Godly Power, Fused Fighter, Nightmare, Fierce Battle, Legendary Power Wrestling sets. So yeah, I think, look, overall, I think he's a really good unit. He survives and thrives a lot on his categories where he's really prevalent as, you know, fused, like Future Saga, Batara, Realm of the Gods, Super Bosses, and Worldwide Chaos. Those are really strong for him because of the presence of the other really strong units that can help augment him. For example, he obviously engages really well as a second slot unit more so than anything. He is a really, really good unit from that perspective. So, like, how he functions, let's say his start turn defense, as you can see here, ranges between 210 to 240,000. How it works is he'll get an additional attack and defense of 50% when performing super attacks, so that'll jump up close to 300k, or just around about 300k. Remember, he has damage reduction of 20% already. Then he also gets an additional damage reduction of 2% as well with each attack received. That occurs only after the instance of the attack being received, not before. He recovers 10% HP at the end of battle, and basically he greatly raises attack and defense. So a lot of the times, for whatever initial hit he's taking, he relies a lot on that 20% damage reduction. So for example, if his defense before applying the super attack multipliers is sitting around 300k, greatly raising his attack and defense, he'll get around about another additional 60 or 70k, give or take, because remember it's before factoring in links and everything, before on each super. So basically his defense can end up being around the 400, maybe even 500k mark, depending on how many super attacks he does. And then you've got 20% damage reduction on top of that, which can scale up to 30% depending on hits. Generally speaking, I found that he works pretty well for normals. I don't think he tanks super attacks very well unless he's got type advantage. Then he's not too bad because, 20 to 30% damage reduction, type advantage, 500k defense is not terrible. But yeah, what I would say is generally for me, I've found that normals, he's still relatively okay dealing with. Obviously, AoE normal attacks are quite a bit of a problem for him. But defensively, I would say normals are probably at an okay level for him. Is it the most insane defensive performance ever? No, not really. But it's still really solid, and he's really quite good from that perspective. So realistically, I find him to function well in that situation. So normals really good. etc, etc. So that's all really quite solid. Then, of course, on top of that, you still have his great chance of nullifying unarmed super attacks and countering. So this is like more physical super attacks and things like that. And that's also at a decent level, I would say. Yeah, unarmed super attacks, being able to counter them, I think gives him an added layer of defensive security that I think is not bad. I think it's realistically quite good. So, yeah, I'm quite impressed with Zamasu. I'm quite impressed with how well he does defensively and everything like that. Obviously, offensively wise, he's okay. You've got that ability for him to fire off multiple supers. He's got that additional super attack when he performs an ultra super, and then he also obviously has that additional super that he has from his hidden potential system. So at most you can get up to 3 supers in a turn, which is really not too bad. And then obviously you've also got the active skill, so the active skill works really well as well. And he does obviously have that effective against all types when key is 24. So the big thing for him is hitting that 24 key, which is not bad to do, but does require him to get hit a little bit, which you traditionally want him to do to build up that extra 5 key. And obviously you want to prioritize int orbs for him, but I would say generally speaking he's a good unit. Nowadays definitely not up to the tempo of a lot of the latest releases and that, but still not too bad for a lot of content. Defensively you should hold fine, and a lot of content. Offensively you should still be able to do damage, 10 11 million with attacks effective against all types, and follow-up super attacks of 7. I mean, it's a good chunk of damage. It's not maybe the most impressive, but it's still a good damage line. It's still solid damage, so I think over that he's pretty good. Obviously your highlight links is going to be big bad bosses. I think that's always going to be something that is super duper important, always, very much so. And I think that's always going to be something really important. So that's always really good. So other than that though, that is pretty much it for the most part. And I would say there isn't really anything else too major that you need to worry about. So if you can get big bad bosses, if you can get his key link, obviously that helps. But I think overall he's a decent unit that does a decent job. And look, he's quite old now for a unit. I think he's not so current. He came out in 2022, so we're almost at 3 years. So